Hello and welcome. This is a demonstration video of our InvoiceExplorer application. My name is Mark, and I'm going to walk you through all of the key features and functionality. But before we dig into all the details, I want to take just a minute to step back and talk about the big picture of how InvoiceExplorer can help you. AWS is without question the market leader in the cloud infrastructure space. Operationally, they're world-class in every way, and it truly is an exceptional platform. Unfortunately, when it comes to billing and understanding the cost behind their services, the native AWS tools are extremely limited and confusing. Users are frustrated because they can't get answers to basic questions like, why did my invoice increase last month? Or how much am I actually paying for each of my servers? We created InvoiceExplorer to provide you with unprecedented visibility into your cost structure. Our application is incredibly flexible and allows you to quickly and easily track, monitor, and do deep financial analysis on your entire AWS cost structure. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create custom dashboard pages, including the ability to create custom content for your dashboards. I'm also going to show you how to track literally any cost in AWS and set up real-time alerts that immediately notify you as soon as your costs spike up. Then I'm going to show you how you can compare two invoices so you can quickly and easily understand exactly why your costs are changing each month. Finally, I'll take you through some of our reports, including some great executive level reporting options we have. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. InvoiceExplorer is enterprise ready. Our application and underlying infrastructure are both very fast and highly scalable. From a security perspective, we use AWS's best practices to authenticate with your account. We also use a third party to regularly perform pen testing and evaluate our security policies. If you have strict compliance requirements such as HIPAA or FedRAMP, then we even have an option to locally deploy InvoiceExplorer inside your environment, so our entire solution can be maintained within your boundaries. From a data access perspective, we only access your AWS billing and environmental information. We never access any customer or internal data. We even have a white paper that details every permission that we need and explains exactly why we need them. We also fully integrate with common single sign-on solutions like Ping, Okta, and OneLogin, and we can even build a custom connector for you if you're using Active Directory or another type of authentication service. InvoiceExplorer was built to work with large, complex environments. Almost all AWS environments have multiple accounts, but each environment is unique and can be set up differently. Some environments have a bunch of standalone accounts, while other environments use AWS organizations to add some structure. Regardless of how you set up your environment, InvoiceExplorer gives you the ability to track and analyze your costs at every level, the individual account level, the organizational unit level, as well as the consolidated level. You can even analyze your spend across multiple environments, even if each environment was set up differently. For example, you may have one business unit which uses AWS organizations and a different business unit that has a bunch of standalone accounts. Even with these types of complex environments, you can bring everything into InvoiceExplorer and still be able to analyze your spend for each environment individually, as well as have full visibility to the consolidated spend across your entire organization. Needless to say, InvoiceExplorer is extremely robust and can handle even the most complex environments. In this section, I want to talk to you about dashboards. Now, most AWS environments are very dynamic and relatively complex. There are generally multiple accounts involved. You've got countless resources and services being consumed, and just a ton of different users and resource owners all working in the same environment. With so many moving parts, it makes tracking and monitoring costs very challenging, especially if you're trying to track costs for a specific project, department, or internal cost center. The good news is that InvoiceExplorer now makes this entire process very simple. You can quickly create custom dashboard pages that enable you to track all the costs that are important for your organization. You can even set up real-time alerts that notify you as soon as your costs spike up. Now, one of the best features of InvoiceExplorer is the ability to create multiple dashboard pages. This enables you to organize and track your costs by topic. For example, I could create a dashboard page that looks at my consolidated spending activity, or maybe I wanted to create a page that tracks all the costs for a specific department or resource owner or project, or maybe I want to look at the daily spend trend for each of my individual accounts. The point is, since InvoiceExplorer fully integrates with AWS tagging, you can create a dashboard page that literally tracks anything. Let's spend just a minute or two and walk through a sample dashboard so you can have some level of perspective about the different types of dashboard modules available to you. As you can see, this dashboard page has 6 modules, and each module tells a slightly different story. This first module shows monthly cost over the past year. It does a great job of helping you track macro trends over a longer period. This next module shows daily cost over the past month. It helps you understand how your short-term costs are trending. This is actually a very important view because it lets you identify problems as soon as they surface. This cost segment module shows you how much you're spending for each of your AWS services. As you can see here, we have a very large concentration of spend with EC2. This forecast module helps you understand your projected spend for the current month and shows you how that compares with last month. Am I spending more? Am I spending less? And since we do have such a large concentration of EC2 spend, this next module helps us identify the most expensive resources within EC2. And finally, we have a budget module. This is a cumulative spend chart that helps us track our month-to-date spending relative to budget. Notice we added an alert on this module to notify us when we have reached 90% of our target. Now, this is not a complete list of every dashboard module. Other modules do things like identify your fastest growing EC2 cost or your most expensive S3 buckets, or let you create stacked bar charts. There are tons and tons of options available, but we just want to show you a sample of what some of the common dashboard modules look like. And just to be clear, all of our pre-built dashboard modules can be configured to track costs for specific resources or groups of resources or any other combination you can think of. It really is an incredibly robust and flexible tool. And also, if you have special requirements, we can build custom dashboard modules that will meet your exact specifications. One of the best features of InvoiceExplorer is that our dashboards don't just display static images. Instead, each dashboard module actually contains a ton of dynamic content. This means you can drill down into any dashboard module to quickly identify exactly what's driving a cost change. For example, let's take a look at this 12-month spending chart. You can see that there's a significant decrease in spending from June until July. And the obvious question is, why? What's going on that's causing this the invoice amounts to be decreased? Well, with InvoiceExplorer, it's super easy to find out. You can simply just click on the July column, and we'll bring up a full invoice variance analysis. And so you can see that our total cost went from $940 in June down to $560 in July. We have a total variance of $380, roughly 40%. Now, that's great. So we know our costs went down, and down below, we actually perform a variance reconciliation, and we can tell you exactly what's going on. And there are actually lots of different ways to look at variance reconciliations. This is probably one of our favorite, which is by activity. So in other words, during the month, we had $86 of new services that we stood up that actually increased the cost of the invoice. We shut down about $15 a month of services. There were some price increases, some price decreases, where there were some usage increases in certain areas, and we had other existing resources where we actually used less. And as you look at the breakdown of the contributing factors for this variance reconciliation, you can see that the single biggest factor was this usage decreases. So we need to understand what specifically was causing this usage decrease. So we can simply just click into it, and now we can start to dig into the details. And here's a list of all of the services, and we can tell that, okay, of this $470, almost all of it was attributable to EC2. So we can continue to kind of peel the onion and dig down into the details, and we can look at the actual subcomponents within EC2. And when we do that, we can see that the vast majority of that amount was tied up in compute instances. So let's just keep digging down into the details. And now we're down to the resource level. So of this $460 in compute instances, the vast majority of that amount is with one resource. In this case, it's our test SQL 01 server. And you can look and see exactly what happened. We were billed for 1,268 hours for that server in June, but we were only billed for 39 hours in July. So at some point in early July, we shut that server down, and that's really why we experienced a price decrease. But you can see the power of being able to look at these variance reconciliations and dig down and find out the specific resources that are causing the problems. Now, we just did this analysis by looking at it by activity. We could also look at this by template. There are lots of different ways to kind of analyze these variances. And by templates, we can actually create these templates that can look at your costs by resource owner or department or project or service or however you want to look at it. Let's just look at this variance by resource owner. And so you can tell that now we're saying that we're looking at this primarily by owner, like who was responsible for increasing the price or decreasing the price. In this case, the demo user was the one who was primarily attributable to the decrease in the spending. But we could also kind of flip this again and look at it by department and say which department is really causing the decrease in the spend. In this case, it's the development team. So you can quickly see how you can look at this variance and analyze it from multiple different perspectives very, very quickly. This is an incredibly powerful tool that will help you identify exactly what's going on with the volatility, either on a month-by-month basis or even on an individual daily basis. You just simply click on the bar where there's the anomaly, and it will give you a full variance analysis, and you know exactly what's causing your price change. Let's review how to create new dashboard pages. In this example, I'm going to create a new dashboard that tracks all of the costs associated with the production account for our demo environment. It's a super simple process, so let's get started by clicking the gear icon in the upper right corner. This opens up a list of all of the existing dashboard pages. Just click New. Now we're at the dashboard setup page. The left-hand side includes a list of all of the available dashboard modules, and the right-hand side will include all of the modules that will actually be displayed on this specific dashboard. So we're going to go ahead and scroll down to the production modules. We've actually pre-built 6 custom dashboard modules. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how to build these later on in the video. It's a super simple process. But for right now, let's just go ahead and select the modules that we've built. And then once you've selected all of the modules, you can very quickly rearrange the order in which they appear on the dashboard just by dragging and dropping them into place. And then once you have everything in the order that you would like it, you just give the dashboard a name. And hit save. And that's it. You've just created your very first custom dashboard page. Sometimes you want to change how certain modules appear on your dashboard. With InvoiceExplorer, you can quickly make changes directly from the dashboard. You simply click on the gear icon in the upper right corner to edit the module. From here, you can change any of the filters and settings. For example, if I wanted to take this 30-day trend and convert it to a 60-day trend, I would just go to Frequency, select 60 days, and hit Save. And instantly, the dashboard module is updated with a new configuration settings. There's nothing worse than getting a bill at the end of the month and not being able to understand it. We love AWS, but let's face it, their invoices are extremely frustrating. For example, you can't even get a basic schedule that shows how much you're paying for each of your EC2 instances. All of the charges are pulled apart into small pieces, combined with other line items, and then shown as a single line item on the invoice. It's massively confusing, and in the end, users just throw up their hands in frustration. A big part of our solution is providing customers with full cost transparency for their AWS environment. One of the ways that we do this is through the use of invoice templates. Invoice templates are awesome. They access the tens of thousands of lines of detailed billing information that sits behind your invoice. Invoice templates fully integrate with AWS tagging and allow you to effectively reconstruct your invoice in a format that actually makes sense for your business. For example, you can build an invoice template that organizes your cost by department, resource owner, or even by customer. This is especially helpful if you need to allocate your AWS cost to various internal cost centers. Each invoice template has full drill-down capabilities and can provide you with detailed cost information all the way down to the resource level. You just need to build the template one time, then going forward, you can quickly cycle between the different templates and easily analyze your invoices from multiple points of view. Invoice templates are incredibly flexible, and there are really no limits on how you can organize your invoice cost. Creating invoice templates is very simple and straightforward. Let's create a new invoice template that organizes our invoice by department. To get started, just click on the template button in the upper right corner. This is a list of all existing invoice templates. To create a new template, just click the New button. This is the template editor. There are 3 columns in the editor. The left column is a list of all available billing fields, as well as the AWS tags you have created. The middle column shows the selected fields and drill down path for your new invoice template. The right column shows you a quick preview of how the data will be presented in the invoice template. The entire editor is drag and drop, so just select the available fields and drag it to where you want it to appear in the drill down path for the invoice template. In this case, we are creating an invoice template that will sort our costs by department. Select the department tag field from the left column and simply drag it to the top of the middle column. Since we are placing it at the top of the middle column, it will appear first in the drill down stack. The right column shows you a preview of how the data will appear in your invoice template. You can also rearrange the order of the drill down stack by simply dragging and dropping the selected field to the desired location. Notice how the preview pane changed the order of the drill down stack. Once you have everything arranged like you want it, then just give the template a name and click Save. That's it. You've now created your first invoice template. To view your template, just select it from the drop-down list in the upper left corner. Now you can quickly view your invoice cost by department and then drill down to understand the total cost of their specific resources. Why did my AWS invoice increase last month? Unfortunately, this is a simple question that goes unanswered month after month. Candidly, the native AWS billing tools make answering this question nearly impossible. It's not anybody's fault. The underlying data necessary to answer this question is just not readily available. As a result, companies are left trying to manage their AWS costs based on hunches and instincts rather than facts and data. Well, with InvoiceExplorer, this is no longer the case. One of our most powerful features is our ability to compare 2 invoices and tell you exactly why your invoice is changing each month. I am talking like down to the specific resource, the specific person, the specific department. You get the idea. This is really cool stuff. Let me show you how it works. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at these 2 invoices. You can see that from May until June, there was a pretty considerable increase in spend. Our total spend increased 89% in just 1 month. And so the obvious question is, why? What's really driving the increase in spend from last month? Pinpointing the specific cost drivers is quite challenging because there can be hundreds of thousands of moving parts in your environment, each with their own pricing schedules and usage patterns. We developed several innovative techniques that make solving this problem very easy. Let's start by analyzing the variance by taking a look at the different types of activities. It's worth mentioning that whenever you're dealing with so many moving parts, some items will increase in cost while other items will decrease in cost. But at the end of the day, they all net out to the exact amount of the variance. Now, in this case, you can see that during the month, we added $475 of new services. We saved $26 by turning off other services. There were some price increases, some price decreases. We used more of certain resources and less of others, but when you add them all together, they account for the entire variance of $442 for the month. So as we step back and look at this profile, it's pretty easy to figure out that the reason our costs went up so much during the month is because we stood up a bunch of new services. But which services? Let's click on the new services line to find out. From here, we can quickly find out that substantially all the new services were in EC2. Let's keep digging and take a look at the EC2 subcomponents. As you can see, the vast majority of the EC2 cost increase came from new compute instances that were stood up during the month. Let's get down to the resource level and get some additional details. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. This is a list of the new EC2 resources that were started during the month, and it looks like the Test SQL 01 resource accounts for 423, or nearly 90% of the total variance. And there you have it. In just a few clicks, we were able to pinpoint the key driver that caused our cost to increase during the month. This is invaluable information that will help you zero in on specific resources and activities that are causing your cost to increase. There is really nothing like this tool anywhere. Okay, so we just finished analyzing this variance by digging into the different activity types. This is great, but sometimes you want to analyze things from a different viewpoint. Next, I'm going to show you how to analyze invoice variances by using the invoice templates we previously showed you how to create. Templates are great because they allow you to organize invoice information by things like department, resource owner, or customer. You can even use these same templates to evaluate invoice variances. Let's go ahead and select a template. We'll select by department. And with just a few clicks, we're able to analyze our variance through a completely different lens. We can quickly determine the vast majority of the cost increase originated from the development department, and we can still drill down to identify the specific resources that are causing the issues. We could just as easily analyze the variance by resource owner or customer, or by using any other template you create. As you can see, our invoice variance tool is extraordinarily powerful. With just a few clicks, you can precisely determine exactly why your invoice is changing each month. Cost trackers enable you to track any cost in AWS. By leveraging the AWS tags you already have in place, you can track costs for a specific resource, groups of resources, a specific department or customer. You name it, we can track it. Plus, each cost tracker can also be added to any dashboard. Here's how it works. This page is a list of all your current cost trackers. Let's go ahead and create a new cost tracker that tracks the cost for a specific resource owner. We'll start by clicking New in the upper right corner. This is the cost tracker editor. At the top of the screen are all the filters you can apply to create your cost tracker. Let's start by giving your cost tracker a name. You can also give your cost tracker a different name that will be displayed on the dashboard module. Next, you need to select which AWS accounts you want to include. You can select from individual accounts, organizational units, or in this case, we want to include all accounts. Now we need to pick the type of chart you want to use. There's a big variety of charts, everything from a standard trend chart to stack charts, cumulative spend charts, cost segments, top 10 lists. You get the idea. In this particular case, I think a standard trend chart is going to be just fine. The next step is to choose the frequency of the chart. For this particular tracker, we want to track the daily spend for the past 30 days. So we're going to select daily and 30 days. You can also choose whether or not you want to see the totals at the top of your chart. In this case, I think we do want to see the totals at the top. Next, we need to decide which AWS services you want to include. You can include all of the different service costs, or maybe I just want to look at EC2 costs. Or maybe within EC2, I just want to look at compute costs. you can see how we can get very specific and only include the services that are relevant for your tracker. In this case, let's go ahead and include all of the AWS services. Next, let's select the AWS tags that we want to include. In this case, we're building a cost tracker for a specific owner. So let's select the owner tag. And within the owner tag, let's select demo user. Finally, let's create an alert so that we can be notified as soon as there are significant spikes in spending. Just click New. Now we just need to define the trigger for the alert. In this case, let's say we want to be notified if the daily spend spikes more than 10% from the previous day. We can also select which users will be notified and how they will be notified, either by email, text, or a website notification. Let's go ahead and click Save to finish creating the alert. And that's it. When you're done setting all your filters, just click Save. Now remember, each cost tracker that you create can now be viewed on any dashboard. Here's how you add it. We're going to go up to Dashboards and go to Settings. In this case, we'll just create a new dashboard, and we're going to slide down, and you can see that our demo user 30-day spend cost tracker is now added to the available modules. We just drag it into place, and we'll give this dashboard a name. We'll just call it demo user and click Save. And there you have it. There is the cost tracker that we just created on a brand new dashboard page called demo user. Okay, so I wanted to spend just a minute or two and walk you through our EC2 pricing comparison report. Now, one of the biggest frustrations that many people have is that there's a lot of confusion over how they should purchase specific EC2 instances. In other words, should I use on-demand, or there's reserve instance contracts, but there's a ton of different varieties and flavors of those contracts. Which ones make the most sense? And unfortunately, there's just not a really good solution that lays all of your options out side by side, which is why we built this EC2 pricing comparison report. So here's how it works. If you go to Filter in the upper right-hand corner and then go to the On-Demand tab, this is where you can select the specific EC2 instance that you want to evaluate. Now, if you go to the Reserve tab, these are all the different varieties of reserve instance contracts that are available. And so if you only wanted to compare, for example, 1-year contracts and you weren't interested in 3-year contracts, you would simply unselect the 3-year and they would not show up in the comparison table. So once you've made your filter selections, you can see that we've included the original on-demand instance that you selected, as well as all of your selected reserve instance contracts. And we've sorted them from highest value to lowest value. So you can instantly compare each of your reserve instance contract types to determine which one is going to provide you with the best value. So along the left-hand side, we've broken down all the financial and contractual information for both the on-demand pricing as well as each of your selected reserve instance contract pricing. So you'll be able to quickly find out things like effective pricing per hour, per month, per year, the basic contract terms, how much cash is required up front, can you increase or decrease the size of the instance mid-contract, also kind of what the hourly charge is going to be, and a complete detailed cash flow analysis for the next 3 years, so you know exactly what you're signing up for and can find the best reserve instance contract alternative for your application. Have you ever been called to the CFO's office to review an AWS bill? It's generally not a fun experience because you've never had cost transparency, so it's difficult to explain exactly what is driving the cost changes. It's not your fault, you've just never had access to the right data. That is why we created our Executive Summary Report. It is a great resource to help executives understand the basic storyboard of what is driving your AWS cost changes. And the best part is that it is based entirely on facts and data, which CFOs love. We start by giving them a high-level overview of the spending activity for the period. We then help them understand the different types of activities that are driving the changes: new services, price increases, usage changes. We then provide them with some basic cost trend data, a short-term daily spending view, and a longer-term monthly trend. Now that they have their head wrapped around the big pieces and overall trends, we help them understand the key cost drivers such as the fastest growing cost and most expensive resources. We also help them understand additional details, such as the specific resources that are driving the cost changes. We worked with a ton of executives to develop this report and believe it provides a good balance of helping them understand the big picture while also giving them enough details to understand some of the key moving parts. This concludes our product demonstration. I hope you found it helpful. If you have additional questions, we'd love to hear from you. You can call us at 800-487-9037 or email us at sales@cloudsaver.com. Thank you.